that if you are more stressed out, if you are not eating well, if you are not sleeping well, if you are fatigued, if you are not exercising, that your mitochondria simply do not work as well as they should.
Hmm.
And because of that, that is one of the theories of migraine. Hello and welcome back to the Wellbeing. My name is Madison,
My name is Rachel.
and today this is probably the last episode about migraine,
Yeah,
part 3.
welcome to part 3. We broke it up into little chunks for everybody so that it didn't
Mm-hmm.
completely overwhelm your brain and make you want
Yes.
to stop listening.
Today we're going to talk about treatment.
Yay!
Yay.
I am excited about
And
this.
prevention.
And prevention. I think prevention is one of my favorite topics about anything in healthcare ever. I think
Same.
it's something that most people don't, it's something that we don't focus on in healthcare, A. And B, it's something that usually people are coming to see you when they already have an issue. So like prevention is my favorite topic because it just like it honestly just is the answer to everything.
I
Like
agree.
let's just keep it from happening.
I agree.
I love
And
it.
I do want to give a caveat that even if you do everything perfectly and you're like, I am so good and regimented and like I do the things I'm supposed to do, whatever, you can still get a migraine attack, which is really annoying. And I don't want that to make you give up hope. But I also want you to know that even if you're like, but I'm doing everything and like I'm doing my very best and it just like it's driving me crazy, there are always more things you can try. But and this isn't the case for people who are getting attacks like every single day. That's different. But if you're like a couple times a year, I'm still getting one, or once a month, I'm still getting one, but I'm doing so well at everything. That's what acute medication is for. Medication is never a failure, especially when it comes to migraine. Um, and also, it's not your fault ever. Like nothing you did caused a migraine. Even if you had a glass of wine, it's not your fault. And
Yeah,
it like that triggered it. It's not your fault.
definitely.
Anyway,
Yes. And when I was speaking to prevention, I wasn't speaking just
I know,
to
but I just
migraine.
want to clarify. Yes. Yes, we love prevention of all the things.
We do. Okay, this is so fun. So, Maddie, can you tell us a little bit more? I know we want to touch on prevention and we want to touch on farm. So, do you have a preference? Which one should we do first?
We can do either first. They kind of go hand in hand.
Okay.
There's like preventative pharmacology, there's preventative holistic stuff, and then there's acute stuff on both sides as well.
Okay. Let's start with prevention,
Okay.
maybe for both, and then we'll go into
Okay.
acute. Yeah.
Love it. Okay. So migraine is a full body disorder that lives in your brain, which is a little bit confusing. But it's a central disorder, meaning it happens in your brain slash spinal cord, but in this case, brain. But it can affect and be affected by your whole entire body. So people with GI issues, it can often be as a result of migraine or also contributing to your migraine. So you really have to take care of your whole body in order to treat and prevent and take care of migraine. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when it comes to prevention, we like to talk about something called the treatment pie. And every single person's pie is going to be a little bit different. For some people, you are genetically predisposed. And we talked about this a little bit in the first episode. You're genetically predisposed to migraine no matter what. But for some people, your threshold or your bucket is just a little bit smaller or lower than other people's. So your propensity to migraine, Rachel, is higher than mine because you are genetically more predisposed. It runs in your family more than it runs in mine. And does that mean I will never get a migraine or I will never produce offspring with migraine? Not necessarily. Like it could run in my husband's family. If I have a child, their genetics could twist in such a way that has migraine. So it doesn't always have to run in the family, but typically it is familially oriented. Now, when we think about prevention, there are the big things that everyone knows they should do, but not everyone's necessarily doing. So the big preventions are going to be eating a really whole, well-rounded diet, getting rid of the processed foods as much as humanly possible, especially the ultra processed foods. Remember, there's like a spectrum of processed foods from Greek yogurt, which is technically processed, to Doritos. Like those are two very different things. So
Yes.
getting rid of as much processed food as you can. Um, then we're talking exercise. I'm not saying you need to do a HIIT class 5 days a week, but strength training, walking, maybe some interval training or some high intensity stuff for the VO2 benefits once in a while, but generally strength training and walking are the ones with the most excellent benefit for migraine in particular. Balancing your blood sugar is going to be next. Um, I know we talked about this a little bit last time, but making sure you're having a protein, a carb, and a fat at every single meal. There is a little bit of evidence for keto, which is a high fat diet for people with migraine, but also just other brain related things like seizure and other mental health disorders, which is kind of interesting. There are certain supplements you can take. I have a whole episode on supplements. It takes like 45 minutes to get through. So I can have Rachel link that episode in the show notes. But the basics are going to be that most people need to be on are magnesium, CoQ10, remind me to send it to you. Magnesium, CoQ10, and riboflavin, which is B2. And then optional are going to be creatine, omegas, uh, and a couple others that I don't have off the top of my head right now. Ginger, turmeric, things like that. But I talk about all of them in the supplement podcast on my other podcast. Um, and if you guys are interested, we can also do that on here. Just let us know. Um, those are kind of like the big ones. Now, those things not only are going to help take care of your brain, they also take care of your gut health, of your glucose tolerance, of your musculoskeletal health, right? And every single one of those is also affecting your brain, which is why we kind of talk about those in general. Now, people with migraine, their blood work will show a reduction in magnesium practically constantly, but even more so when you're having an attack, which is really interesting.
Hmm,
Um, that's why you take things like magnesium, CoQ10, etc., because
gotcha.
the blood work, as well as just there are a bajillion things that magnesium does enzymatically in your body, and they all affect migraine. Now the ones that are kind of like more nitty gritty, but also important, are going to be reduction in stress. Everyone wants to blame food triggers, everyone, but there is a study that shows what actually affects migraine versus like what people mostly think affects their migraine, and the things that actually affect it are um, stress, like
Interesting.
way higher than almost any other thing. And I will find this
Hmm.
study. It's my favorite chart. Rachel, you can link it in the show notes.
Yeah,
Um,
that's super interesting. Like, so people usually will eat something and then attribute that to
mhm.
being something that they ate instead of maybe where their stress levels were at that day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So it's always going to be a bucket. And at the end of the day, it's like, what is overflowing your bucket, right? And it's going to be probably a bunch of stuff all at once. It's not going to be just one thing, but rather all of these things together. So, not enough sleep, hormonal fluctuation, weather changes. Um, I don't know, did I sleep in a funny position? Now my neck kind of hurts, things like that.
Hmm. Okay.
Makes sense?
Yes, it does. And like obviously all of those things too, like if you're not eating a nutritional diet or you're
Hmm.
not exercising or you're not sleeping well, like all of those lead to increased stress as well,
Exactly.
which then could lead to okay, yeah, that
Exactly. So
definitely
it's
makes
not
sense.
just like I'm so stressed out at work, which is one type of stress, but also physiological stress. Like my body is stressed because I am dehydrated. I didn't have electrolytes. That's another thing to think about. Um, it's not just one thing. Does that make sense? Hopefully.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. That definitely does.
I will try
Um,
and find this. This is my favorite study to reference because people are like, what? And they're like, oh, yeah, it
that
is
makes
definitely a
sense.
thing.
Yeah. That's crazy. I think it's like interesting. I think or you tell me what you think about this with
Yeah.
managing patients. Do
Mm-hmm.
you I feel like in today's culture too, like a lot of people are just in a constant state of stress
I totally agree.
and like high stress,
Mhm.
like constantly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, and I don't think that people know what it feels like to not be stressed out.
I think that's a really good point. And like almost like stress and anxiety go hand in
Mhm.
hand too. Like instead of like being I'm really stressed, I have anxiety or like I have
Mhm.
high anxiety,
Yeah.
which obviously those things go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Um
And I, like, I have friends and family members who are like, if you ask them how stressed out they are, they're like, "Oh, I don't know, I guess, like, a 7 out of 10." And you're like, "Oh my god, 7 out of 10? What?"
yeah. Yeah, that's
And they're
high.
like, "That's pretty good for me." I'm like, "That's pretty good for you."
Yeah, that's how are you functioning?
I that's the thing. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's, like, I just sent you the article, and we can link it below, but the
Yeah.
article is titled Analysis. Hold on. It's not letting me scroll. Okay. Analysis of trigger factors in episodic migraineurs using smartphone headache diary application. So people basically like tracked, and a lot of people, um, for 4,579 days total. So it's like all the people's,
Wow.
not like every person did 4,000 days, but like the
Put
people
together.
added together. Yeah, that's yeah,
Gotcha.
many days, 4,500 days. Um, it was episodic migraine, which is different than chronic migraine. I mean, it's the same disorder, but it's kind of different stuff. But the reported migraine triggers included stress. People will blame excessive sleep, but it's actually probably not that. The next biggest one is sleep deprivation, and then fatigue, and then hormonal changes, and then weather changes. So this is a really interesting
Mm.
chart because people love to say it's cheese and chocolate, it's alcohol, it's smoking, it's caffeine, it's fasting or odors or noise or sunlight, right? But overall, yes, those are all on the chart. Those do contribute to migraine, but it is unlikely that those are like the biggest triggers. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, that
So,
makes sense.
um, and again, a trigger is not the same as a cause. The cause of migraine is that you are genetically predisposed to migraine. That's it. The trigger of migraine is a lot of different things, but is ultimately never just one thing either. That
That's
makes sense?
interesting. Yeah, I'm looking at this chart now and it makes a
Yeah,
lot of
the
sense.
chart
Yeah.
is crazy,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
it's ultimately stress. And like, I feel stressed out is very, very, very different than, I don't know, my body is stressed out because I forgot to eat today and I'm dehydrated. So I haven't had enough water. I haven't had enough food. That is stressing out your body. That's another whole stressor that probably wasn't even accounted for in this study.
Mhm. This
That
is
makes sense.
interesting. Like the 3 tallest bars, like Maddie said, are
Mm-hmm.
stress, sleep deprivation, and fatigue. Like by far. Like they're the easiest to see on that, which is kind
Mm-hmm.
of
Yeah,
crazy.
they're absolutely huge. And again, not to say that the other things aren't things. Like,
Right.
they're also there, but keeping your stress levels low, making sure you have a really good stress management tactic, whether that's breath work or movement or shutting off your computer at 5 o'clock, putting down your phone, reading, watching TV, listening to a podcast, whatever thing, calling a friend, whatever thing helps you de-stress the best, making sure that you're actually using that on a regular basis is super, super, super important.
Okay. That makes sense. Like if you have a bucket
Mm-hmm.
and you add stress will take up a lot of space in
Yeah,
your bucket versus like sunlight or something that you ate or something like that'll still take up space in your bucket but not quite as much as like stress and
typically.
fatigue, sleep deprivation. Like that'll significantly fill it if those things aren't like ironed out.
And what this really goes to show is that migraine is more than likely a metabolic processing problem based on a lot of different things, but there's some theories of like mitochondria and stuff like that. And we know that if you are more stressed out, if you are not eating well, if you are not sleeping well, if you are fatigued, if you are not exercising, that your mitochondria simply do not work as well as they should.
Mm.
And because of that, that is one of the theories of migraine. We don't actually know what causes migraine. That's the problem. Well,
Mhm.
half the problem. There are some people working on it, obviously, but it's such like a diffuse thing that we just go with this like trigger theory instead. So when it comes to prevention, thinking about all of these things at once is really helpful. And I don't say you have to do them 100% of the time because doing this many things 100% of the time is also stressful. So I
Yeah.
say do 100% of these things 80% of the time, or 100% of the time do 80% of these things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Mm.
What is your favorite I know you mentioned some breath work, but what is your
Hmm.
favorite method to reduce stress levels?
For me personally,
Yeah,
going for a walk and calling my
nice.
mom, probably.
Those are good ones.
Yeah. What about you?
I think going for a walk is such a good one because you
Hmm.
never want to get up to do it. But then
Yeah.
as soon as you get outside, you're like,
Doing
oh
it is
my
hard.
gosh,
I feel
there's a real
amazing.
world out here. And it's not just me in my bubble feeling stressed out. I feel like
Correct.
that too. Like it honestly opens my eyes to like, oh my gosh, there's like plants and trees and like
Hmm.
animals and like living beings besides myself. That makes me
Correct.
just feel so much better.
But
So
getting to
like,
go on that walk is so, I have such a hard time with transitions. Like
yeah,
such a hard time.
yeah.
And like getting there is, oh, going for, my husband's like, let's go for a walk. I'm like, no. He's like, okay, come on. I'm like a 4-year-old throwing a tantrum. He's like, excuse me? And I'm like, I've always been like this. I don't know. My mom used to like joke that she walked me like a dog, like because like Maddie needs a walk. But every time you go outside, you're like, wow, I feel so much better. I can try like breathing and breath work and meditation. It's just like I find that after I move, then if I do breath work, then I feel a lot better. But if I just like am sitting here and I'm like, okay,
Yeah,
take 10 deep breaths and then we'll have this conversation. If I'm like angry,
yeah.
I'm
That
just
never
getting get
happens,
more
does it?
mad. I'm just gonna get more mad.
Yeah.
I just sit there like every it's literally me. I'm literally like a 3-year-old in my head still.
I agree. I think movement is a huge piece of
Hmm.
it. Like my whole body. Like I can't just
Yeah.
breathe and
No.
sit here. Like when I just sit here, there's a reason I don't have like a monitor in my office. Like
Hmm.
I just have a laptop and I
Yeah.
like go
To move
around my
around.
entire house and like lay on
Hmm.
my stomach and like sit cross-legged and sit on the
Hmm.
floor and sit in my office chair and stand. Like I cannot
Yeah.
sit all day because it hurts my
That's the
back
problem is I
and my
totally
brain.
can.
You can?
Oh yeah.
Really?
I could sit here for the next 8 hours and forget to eat, be totally fine, not drink any water, and then I'll get up at 4 o'clock and be like, wow, I feel horrible.
It just hit me.
Just hit me. That's the
You
ADHD in me.
or you
Yeah.
just get into your deep work
Oh,
and you
100%. I'm
sit
like,
there.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I'll forget to do everything. And then, yeah, it's hard out here.
It's hard
Not
out
good.
here.
But that's why I have to work like weird hours and like take the dog for like I have to take him home before I like record this class now. It's like a whole thing. So anyway, that's not the point. But I for prevention, like stressed out body, you absolutely positively, I think that's our point, need some way to prevent or deal with stress.
Mhm. Yes.
Now, medications also super helpful for some people, part of prevention. So there are the SSRIs, the SNRIs, the TCAs, which are tricyclic antidepressants, and then also tons of other types of medications. But sorry, the like the anti-seizure medications and whatever. There are so many meds. None of them are actually for migraine, or they were never, not. I should say they were not invented for migraine. They were invented for something else, right? Like SSRIs are used
Right.
for antidepressants or
Yeah.
anti-anxiety or whatever. Um, there's one class of prevention medications that was actually designed for migraine, but just because of the way insurance works, you can't get them first try. You have to try and fail 3 cheaper medications before
Of
you
course.
can get one,
Of
of
course
course,
you do.
because
Yeah.
insurance is
That's
just
how we
so
do things.
horrible.
It's
Blue
so
Cross
good.
Blue Shield and everyone else, if you're listening, you guys all suck. So, so you have to try something called step therapy, which they're working on making illegal. Call your government representation. Um, is basically to get rid of this, but for now it still lives on and exists. But you have to try 3 medications before they'll give you the CGRPs, which are calcitonin gene re uh CG. Wow, my brain is not brain. I'm doing this without caffeine, team.
She's crushing it.
Calcitonin gene reuptake inhibitors. That's CGRI. CGRP stands for. Come on, Madison. Okay, yeah. Calcitonin gene related peptide, not reuptake. I knew it was related. So they are CGRP inhibitors. So there's 2 different types. There are the injectable ones and also the ones that are taken orally. The injectable ones and the oral ones, depending on the one, can be used preventatively. And then the oral ones are also acutes, which is cool. So they have both.
Okay.
They basically
Yeah.
like eat CGRP or they block CGRP from entering their receptor so you can't get it. But people with migraine have too much CGRP, basically.
Okay.
Um, the other type of acute medication you can take is a triptan are the most common. If you go in an office and say, I have migraine, they'll usually give you a triptan. A triptan, we don't have to get into how it works, but it is a migraine treatment option. There's a bajillion of them. Um, and for some people they work, and for some people they don't work. And you're gonna have to try them if you want
And
to know
see.
whether or not it will work for you. That's the only way to know.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Um, however, that goes in the classification of no more than 9 per month.
Okay. So you have to use it
So
sparingly.
so if you're having 2 attacks a week, which for people with chronic migraine, you are probably having at least 2 attacks a week, you need a prevention because your acute clearly isn't working well enough.
Okay.
But when it comes to what we talked about in the last episode of like, if I get this once a year, is it going to become more chronic? Yes, you do need some sort of acute medication, or you should have one.
Okay.
And the easiest one to get is a triptan.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah. But triptans plus anything with caffeine, so like Excedrin migraine, right? Plus Tylenol, plus Advil, plus I think barbiturates are in there and one other class. All of those added together cannot be more than 9 times a month. So if you're getting 2 attacks a month, but you have really severe knee pain, please go to rehab and take care of that knee pain. Because if you're
Hmm.
taking Advil every day for anti-inflammatory of your knee, that is also affecting your brain because you are one whole person
Is
and that
this
will cause
9
rebound.
doses a month?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
It's I think it's 9 days per month,
Okay.
but you really shouldn't take that high of a dose on a day anyway.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of like prevention, but also acute. Now, when you're having an attack, there are also other things you can do that are not medication related. There are things called neuromodulation devices, which I think you got a friend slash family member recently.
Yes.
There's a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they're pretty cool. The most popular ones are Gamma Core and Cephaly.
Mm-hmm.
Gamma Core's twin is called Truvaga, which is way less expensive and equally as efficacious. Cephaly goes on your forehead. It stimulates your trigeminal nerve, which is the main nerve associated with migraine, and it helps calm down or treat that attack. You can have it both, you can use it both acutely for 60 minutes or preventatively every day for 20 minutes. I think
Okay.
that's the dose, or it's vice
Yes.
versa within times. But it's
Yep.
really, really cool. It works amazing for people. Um, and I'm just generally a fan. They also have return policy, so if it doesn't work for you for whatever reason, just send it on back. You only have to buy it once, which I like. Uh, you do have to buy new electrodes for it, but that's it. Then there's Truvaga, which is a vagus nerve stimulator. There's so much stuff on Instagram right now. You probably don't get targeted with this, but
No.
that I
Now I will be
slash
though.
for real. I slash everyone in the vestibular migraine community. I just made a video about it this morning. Get targeted by like cure your migraine or cure your vertigo with vagus nerve relaxation exercises. It is a load of BS. Please don't do that. Yes, stimulating your vagus nerve can be helpful. Singing, humming, gargling with water are easy, free ways to do that. But you can also buy a device like GammaCore or Truvaga. GammaCore is like $450 to $600 a quarter, I think, so it's not cheap. That doesn't fit in most people's budget, but Truvaga is about $400 one time every 5 years,
Okay.
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that is for most people. You can use your HSA, FSA. There's payment plans. Like for most people, that's more accessible than
Mhm.
GammaCore is, but it's the
Yeah.
exact same device. But GammaCore's title just has the FDA approval for migraine,
Oh,
whereas
gotcha.
Truvaga is for stress and anxiety and sleep.
Okay.
But it's literally the same thing. I think that the GammaCore, the stimulation might go a little bit higher, but for most people, they can get away with just having a Truvaga. And even if that is an expensive price point, which it is, um, for most people who use it, it reduces the amount of drugs they're taking, can reduce the amount of time you're spending in the ER, which is ultimately reducing your healthcare bill for yourself overall.
Mhm.
There are little
Yeah,
to no side effects, and it just kind of makes you feel calm, but it also makes your migraine reduce slash disappear, which is kind of fun.
that is cool.
It
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah.
So neuromodulation devices are also a cool other option.
Cool.
Hit all the things. Yeah. Then there are things that just like make you feel better during an attack, like dark room tent, relief band for nausea, essential oils that you can like smell. Ruwell is my favorite brand for that.
Is that
Having
like is
ice
it a
cold
certain
water,
smell?
any smell that you
Any
like, but
smell
like
that you like?
peppermint. Like I have some Ruwell stuff on my desk right here. Her stuff is just like everywhere around my office. But this one is lavender, rosemary, peppermint, vanilla bean, bergamot, and hoba hoba oil.
Ooh.
Smells great, honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm
It sounds
very
good.
sensitive and do not like smells of things,
Yeah.
but I like that. Like I don't wear perfume. I don't want my head to smell like anything. Like
Yeah.
none of that. But I do like her stuff.
Cool. Okay.
Um,
You said ice
yeah.
water. Did you say ice water?
Ice water, yes, and a high protein snack.
Okay.
Even if you don't feel like eating, it will help.
Do it.
Do eat. And
Do
then
eat.
put it all in like and once you find the things that work for you between like your meds. Oh, a hat can be helpful. Avalux glasses. I could literally go on for all day with
Like
things
a
you can
brimmed
use.
hat?
A brimmed hat, yep, because light will go down into your eyes and also into your
Mm,
eyes. You do not, under any circumstances, want to wear sunglasses inside. That is not the answer for light sensitivity. It will make you
mm.
more light sensitive over time.
So wearing like
Um,
a hat inside.
Hat inside is
Got it.
okay.
Okay.
But you can also wear Avalux, Avulux glasses, and they have a patent basically on blocking blue, amber, and red wavelengths of light, but letting through a certain band of green light. And a little bit, I don't know if it's in excess, but like more than other glasses would, I think, and very
Okay.
intentionally, which that band of green light calms migraine even for people who are blind,
Wow.
which is super cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Those are
There's a lot of amazing
so
things you could
many
do
good
for migraine.
options. Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot.
hmm
Cool, Mad. Anything else that you want to share about as we wrap up our little trio
I
of
think just knowing that no matter what type of migraine you have, what frequency, intensity, symptoms, like there are always options. And if your doctor has told you for whatever reason, like you're out of options and like there's nothing else I have for you, that doctor might not have anything else for you, but there are always more options. There are always more things you can try. And migraine is a really frustrating disease disorder to have, but we didn't even get into like the weird functional things in your thyroid and like GLP-1s are having effect on migraine, like
mm,
literally all of the things. So there's a
in a good
lot
way.
more than yeah.
Interesting.
Um, I could talk all day about GLP-1s. They're so interesting. I'm not like the person to do a podcast on them, but I could talk about them all day.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, there's just a lot of things you could do. Is my point.
So don't give up.
Don't give
Keep
up.
going.
hmm
If you don't follow Maddie on Instagram, go follow at the Vertigo Doctor.
Yes, you might
And
think it's all about vertigo, but it's really all about migraine.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, and learn all the things.
hmm
There's always more help out there.
Always. All right. Thanks for asking me all these questions. We'll do you with babies coming up soon.
Yes, look out for it.
Look out. All right.
All
We'll
right.
talk
Bye,
to you soon.
everybody.
Bye.